allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before you all sit, I want you to stand for a moment of silence and reflection for the victims and their families in El Paso and Dayton, Ohio, and also to reflect on the courage and intrepidness of the law enforcement officers who did not wait. But ran towards the fight. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Fitch.
Here.
Councilmember Gregg.
Present.
Councilmember Clancy. Here. Councilmember TRAKAS.
Present.
Councilmember Harder.
Here.
Mr. Presiding Officer, we have a quorum.
Very well. Is there a motion for approval of the journal of the meeting of July 30, 2019? So moved. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. The July 30, 2019 journal is approved. Bid openings.
We have no bid openings this evening, sir, so we will move to communications. Under communications, we have no tax compromises or zoning matters this evening, so we'll move to road and bridge matters. Under road and bridge matters, item number 1, 5th District.
Receive, file, plan specifications and detailed estimate of cost be approved, and the Director of Procurement be authorized to advertise for bids pending authorization from the Federal Highway Administration. As requested, and a copy of this report be sent to the interested parties.
So ordered.
Moving on to
Communications.
other communications, Mr. Presiding Officer, item number 1.
Receive, file, and the issuance of a request for proposal be approved as requested. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 2.
Receive, file, and the issuance of a request for proposal be approved as requested. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 3.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 4, 4th District.
Please drop from the order of business.
So ordered.
Item number 5, 4th District.
Receive and file.
So ordered.
Item number 6.
Receive and file, and that will be the order.
Item number 7.
Receive, file, and the appropriate transfer be approved as requested. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 8.
Receive, file, and the appropriation transfer be approved as requested. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 9.
Receive, file, and the appropriation transfer be approved as requested. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion carries.
Item number 10, all districts.
Receive, file, and the appropriation transfer be approved as requested. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 11, all districts.
Receive and file, and that will be the order.
Item number 12, 2nd District.
Receive, file, and refer to the Department of Transportation and Public Works, Department of Planning, and the County Councilor, and that will be the order.
Item number 13, all districts.
Receive, file, and the appropriation transfer be approved as requested. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Item number 14.
Receive, file, and the County Councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation. Same motion through item number 16, and that will be the order.
Item number 17.
Receive and file, and that will be the order.
Item number 18.
Receive, file, and the County Council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation. Same motion through item number 20, and that will be the order.
Item number 21, 5th District.
Receive, file, and the County Councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 22.
Receive, file, and the appointment be approved as recommended. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries, and Tom Ott is confirmed as Director of Department of Parks and Recreation. Well-deserved, and glad to have you in that position, Tom.
Presiding Officer, could I ask if we return to Road and Bridge Matters, item number 1, 5th District? We think that motion needs a second.
Hang on.
Do I need to reread the motion?
Yeah, go ahead.
You want her to?
Go ahead, Lisa.
Receive, file, plan specifications and detailed estimate of cost be approved, and the Director of Procurement be authorized to advertise for bids, pending authorization from the Federal Highway Administration as requested, and a copy of this report be sent to the interested parties.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. And that will be the order. So we are now,
At the add-ons,
Add-ons.
Mr. Presiding Officer. On the add-ons, under other communications, item number 1, 1st District.
receive, file, and refer to the county councilor for review and recommendation, and that will be the order.
Item number 2.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 3.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order. I believe that brings us to report of the county executive.
Yes.
Sam?
Thank you, Ernie. Good evening, everyone. 5 years ago, Michael Brown's death thrust our region's struggles with race relations into the national spotlight. Out of that tragedy sprang a movement for social justice and racial equity. Many of our region's leaders embraced that movement. Business leaders began to turn back generations of disinvestment in North County, and they started building new facilities. Nonprofits doubled down on job training and youth programs. The Ferguson Commission crafted an analytical framework to address equity and the difficult conversations that surround it. And governments around the region began to make improvements, police-community relations, eliminating unfair court practices, economic mobility, and providing summer jobs for youth. So by some measures, we made some progress, but not enough, not nearly enough. For the first 5 years of trying, we've simply not done enough to tackle our region's biggest challenges. We've not done enough to address racial disparities. We've not been creative or courageous enough to find solutions. So that's what we have to do now. We have to work together to empower people to succeed. And I'm committed to doing this work, and I know that you all are too. I've sat with you here now on the council for years. I know that you share my goals, and I know you all understand that we have a lot of work to do ahead of us. Another significant event will occur this week on Friday afternoon in the federal courthouse downtown, where the court will hear arguments on what is a just and fair sentence for Steve Stinger's crimes. Crimes of contempt against county employees, against the voters he let down, and for defrauding taxpayers. So working together, this council and my administration have made a lot of changes in how county government operates. But we can't stop there. In the coming weeks, my administration will work with you to take new steps to make sure that pay-for-play activities in St. Louis County are gone forever. So I've been asked if I'll attend Stinger's hearing on Friday. I know that St. Louis County government will be well represented, but I won't be there. You all have elected me to lead this county into the future, and I understand that that includes understanding the past, but it also requires me to not dwell on it. So while Steve Stinger is being judged in court, I will be in Ferguson participating in a conversation on St. Louis County's future. Finally, we will soon be joined by 2 new council members as the council returns to a full council of 7. I want to continue our collaborative relationships. I think I've talked to each of you once or at least twice in the past couple of weeks, and some of you more than that. And that level of communication will continue as we work together to restore trust in county government and tackle the biggest regions in the St. Louis region. That's the end of my report. Thanks.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it. Report of special committees. With respect to the Ethics Committee, we'll hold that on the order of business, and that will be the order.
Mr. Presiding Officer?
Yes, sir.
Should I report the Public Improvements Committee here?
Sure, go right ahead.
So the Public Improvements Committee met today at 4 o'clock to discuss medical marijuana issues. The vote was 3-0 to return it to the Planning Commission with a strong recommendation that was given as part of the record that they consider before they send their next recommendation back to us. And that recommendation was to have 1,000 feet buffer zone, locational buffer zone, for any of the 4 uses of medical marijuana that's been authorized in Amendment 2 by the voters of the state. So that would include 1,000-foot buffer is what the recommendation of the committee was for each of those locations, as well as some other zoning requirements based on where they could locate or not locate. That's all I have.
Thank you. Public forum?
We have 10 speakers this evening, Mr. Presiding Officer.
Very well. Folks, the clerk will call your name. Please come up, give us your name and where you live. Each of you will have 3 minutes by council rules. We'll be a little gracious with that and afford you some additional time, but I would ask you to please respect the fact that we have 10 people and each one wants their opportunity to speak. So I would ask you to, as much as possible, keep your remarks to as close to 3 minutes as you can. With that, Madam Clerk, go ahead and call the first speaker.
First speaker is Erica Brooks.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm here to follow up about Metro Reimagine, about having access to bus routes in Ferguson, Missouri. I've been here several times. I've been campaigning since March 9th about keeping our bus route. We have retained our bus route as of June 28th, but I sent a 27-page packet that I put together myself with no one's help, just kind of following up with what I've done throughout the whole campaign about our agreement that I had with Metro as far as option 3. Option 3 said, hey, they were going to alternate between Suburban and Dade, as well as South Florissant throughout the whole day. When we had our feedback meeting on May 18th in Ferguson, we did not agree not to have service after 7 on weekdays as well as weekends. So they're telling us that we do not deserve to have service in Ferguson after 7. Now, I've been told personally by President Roach that I'm not going to get everything I want. But I know through looking at the whole spectrum like I have since the beginning of all the bus routes in South City, South County, Brentwood, Central Western Corridor, as well as downtown, that they're not walking after 7. They're not inconvenienced without having service of bus routes after 7 or not at all on weekends. So if we're talking about changes and things going better in Ferguson, how can you take out a whole bus route on a weekend and after 7, where I've gone through to all the different businesses, looked at their times, and you have several businesses that are still functioning after 7. You have several businesses after 1, okay? So we got here, we have starting at 7 p.m., you have 3 that's open at 7, 4 that's open at 8, 6 is open at 9, 10 is open at 4, 11 is open at 3, 4 is open at 12 a.m., 2 at 1 a.m., and also 1, at 2. So the thing about this right here, if you want to make a change and you want to actually give us access to public transportation, don't take it as a personal thing to tell me that I'm not going to get everything that I want. When I did my personal petition in Ferguson, 392 people said, yes, we first of all want to have service. When Metro said, well, we need to have you do this survey right here, that I pound the pavement for to get 350 signatures from the community, not from me, but the community said, hey, we want to have option 3, which services our community throughout the whole day, like South Florissant, like South Cities, like Central Western Corridor, Brentwood, as well as other places. Like I said, when it comes to the safety of our community, and you know what, it's like you all talking about praying for that massacre that happened in Ohio and Texas. we have massacres happening every day of the week in our city. So there's no way that it should be okay to not have service in our community in Ferguson. So while you all helping them with their budget out here in the county, please help them consider, understand our safety comes first. And when they're talking about having more money for police, like I told you in that budget meeting in there, I said if they protect us like they do people, they go to Cardinals games and hockey games, you won't have to worry about getting more money because we know that they care about us every day like they care about them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks, appreciate it. Thanks for making the time.
And I do have a copy of our bus route in case you all want to
You have
have
the right
that.
to give it to the clerk. and that'll
Thank
be
you.
Part of the record.
Next speaker's last name is Slemmer. I apologize, I can't read the first name.
Thank you. Members of the council, thank you for allowing me to speak.
Could you state your full name, ma'am?
I'm sorry, Donna Slimmer, and I live in Overland, Missouri. It's Slemmer.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Slimmer.
Okay. Humans can come to you with their issues, but there are other loving souls that cannot. We are here to be their voice. We won't go away. We are waiting and we are watching. I'd like to share a message a county Facebook shared, a county volunteer shared to Facebook today. She wrote, "We had 2 volunteers today." This is at St. Louis Animal Care and Control Facility. "We had 2 volunteers today, 2, and no staff to help on a Saturday afternoon as we tried to get almost 50 dogs outside for potty breaks before the shelter closed at 4 p.m. Of course, we weren't successful. Unwalked dogs who were walked at 8 or 9 a.m. that morning would not get outside again until 24 hours later. That's wrong. It's inhumane. I felt sick as I left, knowing the discomfort the dogs must feel and the less than pleasant nights rest that awaited them. All kinds of help is needed. Volunteers to walk dogs, play with cats, do laundry, stuff the Kongs at the shelter. Why are adoptable dogs being killed? Who is making these decisions and what are their qualifications? How is behavior tested and what, if any, allowances are made for shelter stress? Why are some dogs seemingly arbitrarily labeled for rescue only? Why are dogs not moving quickly through the system to the adoption floor? The longer a dog is at the shelter, the more likely he or she is to develop emotional and physical ailments. Can an adequate caregiver staff be consistently provided to ensure that all dogs have 2 walks per day and are resting in sanitized kennels? Could county consider implementing both a foster program and an enrichment program? Getting dogs out of the shelter into foster homes and or away for a day's adventure would go a long way to keeping dogs healthy and balanced, which ultimately makes them better adoption candidates. There's so much more I could say. I'm sorry to rant, but I'm feeling discouraged. That was her Facebook post. Again, I say we are watching. We won't go away. We won't forget. We won't let you ignore this. And we are waiting to hear. We were waiting to hear what you're going to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Slimmer.
Next speaker is Jennifer Harris.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Harris. I live at 4016 Fawn Circle, 63125 in District 6. I am here this evening to discuss St. Louis County Animal Care and Control. As we all are aware, the audit was done earlier this year, and the results were recently released. Spring Schmidt stood here and spoke of those results. She talked of a plan of action, yet the only change is no longer requiring everyone to check the ORE, Owner Request Euthanasia box, which simply means they can no longer hide the number of animals, adoptable animals, they are killing. Excuse me. She also talked of issues stemming from the previous administration. The shelter is located in District 6. Executive Page, this was your district. What were you doing? Better yet, what are you doing now as executive? Volunteers are the backbone of any shelter or rescue. St. Louis County is in desperate need of more, but they have a few extremely dedicated ones that work very hard every day to get as many dogs out for a walk as they can, to enrich as many animals' lives as they can, and to network them for adoption or transfer to a shelter partner. These volunteers describe these animals as loving, playful, sweet, gentle. Yet these animals are continuing to be moved to the back, away from volunteers, away from the people who work so hard to save their lives. For what reasons? Leash biting, shelter stress, kennel reaction, bogus excuses that are the very reason the euthanasia rates will continue to rise as St. Louis County. Hundreds of cities have moved towards no-kill and low-kill. There is no reason St. Louis County cannot do this. Hire a director with compassion, drive, and determination to save the lives of these animals, and we will see change. We are their voices. We won't go away. Please hear us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Barbara Ann Hughes.
Good evening, County Executive Page and members of the County Council. My name is Barbara Ann Hughes. I live at 101 Hawthorne Estates, Town and Country, 63131. I'm here this evening in memory of Gracie Blue and our 8th annual upscale tag sale. I just wrote a check in the amount of $100 to St. Louis County Save, the nonprofit that works in support of St. Louis County Animal Care and Control. I also want to thank the young ladies next door for hosting a lemonade stand on the day of Gracie's sale. Francesca, Canisi, Bridget, Paige, Delia, and Izzy. Thank them all for their support of the animals. They graciously donated their proceeds to Gracie's charities, St. Louis Senior Dog Project, Cavalier Rescue Trust, St. Louis County Animal Care and Control, the SAVE organization, and Paw Stoppers. So thank you, as our beloved Gracie Blue would say, ARF, see you next year. Thank you. So you did get a donation from me, but I gave it to SAVE because they support animal. And here are those names if you want their spelling. Thank you all very much.
Good. Thank you.
Next speaker is Karen Smith.
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Karen Smith. I live at 8930 Harrison, 63144. Before I say what I came here to speak for, I would just like to add my support to the concerns about the animal care issues that have been raised here tonight. I'm really horrified of some of the things that I just heard. But what I'm here for tonight is I am in Council Clancy's district and spoke to her office regarding my property assessment and appeal process, and it was suggested that I come to the county council meeting and share my recent experience. On Friday, July 26th, I appealed my property assessment with the St. Louis County Board of Equalization at the Crestwood location. I was appealing 3 properties: my home in Brentwood, my parents' home in Ladue, and one small property that is adjacent to my parents' home, and those would be in Councilman Fitch's area. The one small property adjacent to my parents' home is an unbuildable lot. My home and my parents' home have had no updates, some basic maintenance, but they're still the original baths, kitchen, no walls have been removed, no additions, no fixed-up basements. The Crestwood location was very packed the day that I was there, and I've been told by friends and family that have also appealed that their properties that they experienced similar crowds. And I guess I would ask if that's not an indication that you have a problem with the appeal process and the way that properties are being assessed with the amount of people that are going through that appeal process. Some of my current concerns are as follows. I don't feel like there's anyone that's really looking at the whole process holistically. All 3 properties went through all 3 levels. And at each level, I was told that they look at something specific. They have their set of formulas and algorithms that they apply. They couldn't really explain the formulas to us. They just told us they cannot make any changes or look outside of what they're supposed to be looking at. The algorithm or formulas produced some aggressive increases in my mind. Each of our properties increased by 16%, which is much higher and faster than the rate of inflation. And if you're using a formula or calculation and it's giving you an unreasonable result, one must ask if that formula is working, if it's producing a consistent result. Several individuals that were appealing their properties that day when I was there had 24% increases. Several friends and families have had their homes upgraded and have nicer homes than what I have or what my parents have. They received reductions. I know their properties, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't have received an adjustment, because they should have. Increases of 16% and up to 24% is too high, so they deserve those. But it shows how arbitrary the process is. We were informed that there was no way that the county assessor office to know what the condition of all these properties were, and so that's why they couldn't say why our property could not be adjusted and why their properties could. But then how did they make those decisions about what homes they were going to be reducing? So it just is an indication to me that the process is not based on a reasonable process, and it does not give reliable and consistent results.
That's 3 minutes.
I'm sorry?
Let's go ahead, ma'am.
The process also uses real estate agents, and I view this as a conflict of interest. The real estate industry obviously has a vested interest to keep property values high. The comparable properties that they use, they picked homes that sold at the highest value. Not all of the homes in my neighborhood or my parents sold at those higher values. There were other homes that sold at lower values, but none of the lower values would be considered. They also leave out homes that are investor homes or homes that sold off the open market. Unfortunately, that's the reality of the neighborhood that some of us live in, and these are how the homes are selling, but yet they take those off the books. Additionally, basing the assessment on homes that have been recently sold is flawed in my view, because those homes are actually fixed up to sell, which inflates the values, and that's not the homes that people actually live in. The final level 3, I was told that there was going to be a board of 3 people that would listen to our appeal. We only had 2 individuals, and I won't go into the uncomfortable process that was when I noted them about that, and they said we're just going to go ahead without it. The 2 that were there, they listened to what I said, closed the files, and moved on to the next one. There was no discussion. They told us we would get their decision in the fall, and that we could appeal the decision if we wanted, but we require more paperwork and we'd have to get a lawyer. Yet another expense.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm going to have to ask you to wind up if you don't mind.
Okay, did I talk longer than the others that spoke?
Yes, ma'am. By about a minute and a half so far.
All right, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Then, I just don't feel like anyone's looking out for the people. My parents are elderly, my father has dementia. I don't know who looks out for people that, need help navigating through the process. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next speaker is Garrett Mees.
Hi, my name is Garrett Meese. I live in the 63125 area code, St. Louis County. I concur about the animal mistreatment. I definitively concur with the tax assessment problems that are reminiscent of days gone by when redlining was an effective measure of creating problems in communities. So, that being said, I'm not here to talk about any of that. I'm actually here to talk about the lost city of Lee As one of the oldest settlements west of the Mississippi, Lee is a community that has rich history, strong viewpoints, and good people. So what is it about Lee that people overlook? Why is it that the only thing that Lee has become known for is that small part of unincorporated St. Louis County that you have to drive through to get to the casino? Lee was originally laid out in a hurry to meet an ever-expanding country, yet it was nothing more than a fair town that quickly was overshadowed by the gateway to the west, just north of its quaint little town. It wasn't until World War I that Lee started to grow and the town started taking shape, yet most of it was built during the years of the Great Depression, many years before subdivision codes even came about. Since Lee is unincorporated and has no real local representation, it seems that the county government simply forgot about the needs of the community, like contiguous sidewalks and proper storm drains and street lighting. The county will cite homeowners for grass a half-inch over maximum length, yet leave county-owned regulated property unmaintained for decades, creating the appearance that the people of the community do not care, when in fact we do. This only feeds the ever-growing contempt and apathy on the part of many of the homeowners, combined with some of that have fallen on hard times. This has put a great deal of blight into our community and has led to a great deal of disdain for county government and pushback against any plans brought forth by outsiders at the direction of the county for redevelopment, as promises have been made by the county and broken so many times before. Although the county has put together a comprehensive plan for Limay, little to no input was given by the members of the community as to what the people of Limay needed. As the chairman of the Limay Neighborhood Association, I'm calling on the county to stop cutting its own nose off to seemingly spite the people of Limay and stop getting caught up in the quagmire of politics involved in giving variances to fixing our community within the confines of many quirks that exist, yet cannot be overcome without a complete overhaul. Two of those areas are sidewalks and drainage. Therefore, the Limay Neighborhood Association would like to lead the way and help work with the county, along with MSD, Laclede Gas, Ameren, UE, and any of the other utilities required to bring sidewalks, curbs, gutters, and drainage to get those things. Yet many and most we're going to need variances to get those things done, to fix our neighborhood, to make our community more appealing for small businesses to locate there. In some cases, this may include improvements and modifications to some individual homeowners' properties, yet should not have a negative financial effect on the homeowner. Measuring the progress of implementation will be apparent to the community as streets become nicer and safer for our citizens. The overall value of the community will rise and be in actual comparison to the tax hikes that we talked about a few minutes ago. And will bring the sustainability of Limay back to the forefront. We're asking your help to make Limay the town that time forgot into a great example of a renewed urban success. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mays.
Next speaker is Kadena Wilson.
Good evening, I'm Katina Wilson. I'm a resident of 11671 Bristol Rock Road. Rochelle Gray is my, in my district. I am also a transit service worker who currently is on leave as the Vice President of Local 788. I am here this evening to ask for assistance from the county. We have gone through a number of issues with Metro Transit. We know that they are here on some budget issues this evening. Primarily safety. As a member of Local 788, we are solely in support of the issue on safety. We're out there, our riders are with our operators or with the riders. Our operators are county constituents, as I am. Our concern, however, is if they're safe, we're safe. We need some help from you guys, not only on safety. We need your help with just working conditions, those kind of things with Metro Transit. But at this point, our concern is making sure that our operators are safe as well as the riding public. We also would like you to look at some of the things that are going on with Metro Reimagine, where North County is growing at a considerable number, as well as St. Charles and other municipalities. We would ask that you look at some of these routes that are being put together, the frequency of the routes, how they're being arranged, what decisions are being made, because we live in the same subdivision. However, it would take us almost a half a mile to get to a bus stop. So these are things that we're asking for. We ask for your support because security is an issue. We're out here dealing with the same epidemic everyone else is. Our drivers are out there waiting for help anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes. Between St. Louis City Police Department, St. Louis County Police Department, and Metro's security. This is a must. Transit moves and helps with the infrastructure. We're in a really distressful place, and we need the help of the council, not only for Metro's budget, but for the sake of those constituents who are employed by Metro.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Next speaker's first name is Aaron, but I can't read the last name. E-R-I-N.
Hello, my name is Erin Kelly. I live at 1981 Valbeck Drive, St. Louis, Missouri, 63127. I'm also the executive director of our federally funded program in the area that aims to reduce substance misuse in teens over long term. So I'm here today to speak about the medical marijuana facilities and planning and zoning committee's recommendations and interpretation of the Constitution, the constitutional amendment that we all voted on. So first of all, I want to start and say, I do not want this in our areas. We have voted on it as a community, and looking at it as medicine, there has to be reasonable access. So when I looked at the recommendation, it's extraordinarily concerning to me that we are talking about a 0-foot buffer between our schools and medical manufacturing, outdoor and indoor cultivation. I gave you all some photos. So there's two photos in here that show samples of properties where it is possible that a manufacturing facility would be immediately next door to a school. This is sharing property lines. When we talk about, I've heard a lot this week about, it's perfectly safe and they're going to have the best systems in place. The minimum requirement for an outdoor cultivation facility is a 10-foot fence with razor wire on the top of it, and also an armed guard on the inside. So what is safe about that? If that's what we have set in place. This is setting the wrong message to our kids. We need to be concerned when we've got children that don't have access to transportation, which in a lot of our counties, there aren't buses to go to the schools. There's families that have to walk. And when we're putting this right next door to a school, I think we're setting a really dangerous precedent when this is something that we're just welcoming into our area right now. So I'm encouraging and advocating the council and the planning and zoning committee to set a 1,000-foot buffer regardless of what type of marijuana there is in the area. I recommend that everybody reach out to the planning and zoning committee. They put out a document that shows what 1,000 feet around schools, churches, and daycares looks like. And to me, it's very reasonable to expect these million-dollar organizations to be able to come in. Let's have them work on getting their space. Let's not make it super easy for them. Let's protect our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin.
Next speaker is Lynn LeBeau.
Hi, my name is Lynn LeBob. I live at 9501 Irene Place in Afton, unincorporated St. Louis County. I'm here to speak about my concerns regarding the medical marijuana recommended ordinances by the Planning Department. The federal law has a 1,000-foot buffer for controlled substances as it relates to schools, our churches, and daycares. The state of Missouri has recommended a 1,000-foot buffer for marijuana dispensaries, cultivation, edibles, and testing facilities. St. Louis County should follow those recommendations. I would ask the council, the planning department, and the county executive to remember that they are supposed to be working for unincorporated best interest. We have a drug epidemic among our youth, especially in unincorporated areas. There are many high-risk circumstances that are leading our teens to these controlled substances. Additionally, I am very concerned that there is not a buffer zone proposed for the residential areas. For instance, my property abuts to a business, a public storage, that is zoned M1. In theory, public storage could see this property to a potential cultivation facility. The people are asking you to validate the will of the voter. However, to proceed with great caution. Our communities and our children are the ones here at risk. I ask that you care about our children and communities like we do.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Hannah Mungamuri.
Some water. I'm good, thanks.
I thank the council for this time. In March 2019, my friend's grandkid died from drug overdose, and for the first time, I stood before the council to plead for a greater distance of buffer zone. I thank the council for their caring and courage. I'm from India, and we've been there, done that, got burnt bad. I shouldn't watch you go down the same fatal path. In India, there is no enforced buffer zone for drug dispensing since religious gurus started using narcotic drugs centuries ago as a religious rite. So moms took a shortcut to avoid drug deaths in their families. Moms started paying dowry money and gold to buy a son-in-law who is not addicted to drugs. It was that bad. It worked for a while, but later caused dowry deaths. So moms started paying more dowry and educating the girls so they could marry someone who lives in US, UK, Australia, like that. Because violence is very high in India, even though we have very few guns. That is due to the caste laws and polygamy and theocracy mainly. And even though my mom was an affluent, very progressive woman, she sent me over here thinking that I would be allowed to live safely in my Crestwood home or read in safety in my Maplewood library. I was safe in US for a few weeks until caste corruption found its way here, even in US. I was asked in 1997, I came here 22 years ago, I was asked to use a fake resume and get an IT job. But since I was a Christian and had my network of church friends, I was able to refuse to support caste corruption in US. But many of my Hindu friends, Hindu caste ladies, they were bullied, battered, and one was even sent back to India because they refused, and so finally they gave in, and now some of them are in very high corporate positions and are being blackmailed to change healthier US laws to accommodate our caste laws. Like since euthanasia is legalized in one of the states, an Indian widow there can be euthanized by force. The caste laws burnt a 18-year-old widow named Rupa Kanwar in 1987. I was born, recently. So, and also we still have low caste slaves, even though you freed your slaves, but we still have hope because we saw how with bipartisan unity you have defeated the Stenger corruption. So we caste ladies, we plead you like sisters plead their brothers and powerful sisters to please pass some sort of legislation so the caste laws that ruined our India would not be started here also. And I say that caste laws are fatal for all. Caste cannot be changed like church denomination. And I just plead that this caste supremacy is a way higher level than white supremacy. If white supremacy is like a puddle, this is like a tsunami and it's growing right now. But I still have hope because our honorable Commissioner Srinivasa Dandamudi is an asset to the council to throw some light on our protection of our women from India. I thank the council again for this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Final speaker this evening is Azora Liggins.
here again, I guess, and I don't know how long I'll have to probably along all the way older than I. But it's hard for me to understand that I lived in this county over 30 years. I've been even with my circumstances as they are now with God. But to be ignored by this entire county. Come to this council and ask for help, and I have been all over the state trying to just get somebody to read my information. When I go into the courts, as was recommended by Councilman TRAKAS at that time, and bring a charge for due process, just to try to figure out how I'm gonna get information about my disability benefits, and then the judge puts an injunction against me to silence me because that's a violent act. It's very disturbing for me, and it's hard to understand if any of you believe this could go on in a person's life when they're at the back end, when I should be retired and being at home with my grandchildren, as you all probably want to be yours. But there is no resolution for me. I filed a motion to have the injunction dissolved 4 years, 3 years later, and they tell me no. So who do I talk to? Where do I go to get help, to get my problems resolved in a civil manner? I thought it was to the courts. I go to the courts, they send me to a criminal court. For what? Because I'm asking for information on my disability. So is this the message that I'm supposed to send? Is this my protection? I need to ask this council. Is this the best that I can get? There's nowhere I can go. There's no protection for me. So silence is your answer? Silence sanctions abusive behavior. And when people stand silently by, it doesn't help our situations at all. And you say you want to change this county. Chairman Page, you just sat there and said you wanted to change this county. But you're afraid to speak up and speak out on the truth. And that's all I've asked you to do, is look at the truth. Because my life is almost over. I've lost everything. But I am a respectable person. I'm trying to do it the right way in the face of all these people doing it the wrong way. Our judges are kangaroo courts. Our court is no more, Sawaki's court is no more than a kangaroo. A waste of time. When I go in there, they send me to a criminal court, as if I'm some kind of criminal. So is this what African Americans are still facing, Mr. Page? Is this somehow your view of change?
Ms. Liggins, please direct your comments to me.
Mr. Chairman TRAKAS, to you. Is this some idea of change? Is this what we're supposed to expect? 25 years I've been out here, just trying to get information. And when I get the information, Boeing refuses to read. And then nobody can tell them what to do. I'm threatened. Then when I ask for help, I'm shackled. I beg to differ, Mr. Page. There's more work to be done. And we're not going to get there being silent.
Thank you, Ms. Liggins.
No more speakers. Ms. Bradley.
Very well. Introduction of bills.
Bill number 214, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to accept additional grant funding of up to $16,618 above the funds received from the Missouri Department of Economic Development, Division of Workforce Development, pursuant to ordinance number 27,142, as amended by ordinance number 27,306, to support of programs and services related to the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, depositing and appropriating said additional monies as set forth herein, and authorizing the county executive to execute necessary contracts or other documents. Bill number 215, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance appropriating the amount of $175,000 from the unappropriated balance of the health fund for implementation of certain best practices by the Division of Animal Care and Control. Bill number 216, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute contracts and renewals with Philip Dennis, Victor B. Thompson, and Grant J. Shostak for provision of public defender services for the St. Louis County Municipal Court. Bill number 217, introduced by council members Walton, Gray, Clancy, and Fitch, an ordinance amending Chapter 606, Title 6, St. Louis County Revised Ordinances 1974 as amended, Department of Public Welfare, by repealing and reenacting Sections 606.110 and 606.187, and by repealing Section 606.210, all pertaining to various fees charged to inmates in the Buzz Westfall Justice Center. Bill number 218, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with Jacobs Engineering Group Incorporated for professional services in connection with water infiltration issues at Acton White Rogers Community Center. Bill number 219, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with the curators of the University of Missouri St. Louis for partnering in a vendor fair themed, fostering new opportunities and relationships. Bill number 220, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance amending Chapter 102, Title 2, St. Louis County Revised Ordinances 1974 as amended County Council by repealing and reenacting Section 102.100 pertaining to county council committees. Mr. Presiding Officer, that is all the bills.
Great, thank you. Perfection of bills.
Bill number 20, introduced by Councilmember Harder.
Please hold. Bill number 20 is held.
Bill number 102, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
Please hold.
Bill number 102 is held.
Bill number 194, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray.
Please hold.
Bill number 194 is held.
Bill number 204, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
There's some ongoing questions regarding the refinancing of by states bonds, so I'm going to hold this bill tonight and schedule another hearing. Bill number 204 is held.
Bill number 207, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
We're going to hold Bill number 207, given the referral to, by the Public Improvements Committee to send the matter back to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So we'll hold this bill for now. Then Bill number 207 is held.
Bill number 208, introduced by Councilmember Fitch.
Please hold in the order of business.
Bill number 208 is held.
Bill number 209, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
I move to perfect Bill number 209. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 209 is perfected.
Bill number 210, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move to perfect Bill number 210. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 210 is perfected.
Bill number 211, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move to perfect Bill number 211. Second. 211 or 210? 211. 211.
210.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Bill number 211 is perfected.
Bill number 212, introduced by Councilmember Fitch.
I move to perfect Bill number 212.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 212 is perfected.
Bill number 213, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move to perfect Bill number 213. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Bill number 213 is perfected. Final passage.
Bill number 169, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of Bill number 169. Second. Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 169, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 169 is finally passed.
Bill number 173, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of Bill number 173. Second. Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 173, there are 7 ayes. I'm sorry, 5 ayes.
Very well. Bill number 173 is finally passed.
Bill number 185, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of Bill number 185. Second. Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 185, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 185 is finally passed.
Bill number 193, introduced by Councilmember Fitch.
Before I make my motion, I want to remind everyone, this is the bill that would basically forfeit a pension by a county employee or elected official that's convicted of certain felonies. And Just to remind everybody, what really got this started was, and I'll read part of the sentencing memo from the U.S. Attorney regarding Mr. Stanger. The day after his election, how about that, Mother F? I don't show up to council meetings, I don't do expletive. I've been sitting in my house for the past 2 months raising money and then won by 20%. The world's a expletive upped place. So that's comments from Mr. Stanger, and I believe this is a individual who doesn't deserve to have his pension because of the felonies that he committed. So I think this will send a message to anyone in the future that may consider committing the number of felonies that he did to not do that, or their pension would be at risk. So at this time, I ask for final passage of Bill number 193.
Second. Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 193, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 193 is finally passed.
Bill number 195, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of bill number 195.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 195, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 195 is finally passed.
Bill number 196, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
I move for final passage of bill number 196.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 196, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 196 is finally passed.
Bill number 197, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of bill number 197. Second. Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 197, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 197 is finally passed.
Bill number 198, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of bill number 198. Second. Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 198, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 198 is finally passed.
Bill number 199, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of bill number 199. Second. Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 199, there are 5 ayes.
Very well. Bill number 199 is finally passed.
Bill number 200, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of bill number 200.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 200, there are 5 ayes.
Very well. Bill number 200 is finally passed.
Bill number 201, introduced by Councilmembers Fitch and Tracus.
I move for final passage of Bill number 201.
Second. Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 201, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 201 is finally passed.
Bill number 202, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of bill number 202. Second. Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 202, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 202 is finally passed.
Bill number 203, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of bill number 203.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 203, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 203 is finally passed.
Bill number 205, introduced by Councilmembers Fitch, Walton, Gray, Clancy, Tracus, and Harder.
I move for final passage of Bill number 205.
Second. Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 205, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 205 is finally passed.
Bill number 206, introduced by Councilmember Fitch.
I move for final passage of Bill 206.
Second. Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 206, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 206 is finally passed.
We have no resolutions this evening, sir. So we will move on to
Unfinished business.
unfinished business. Yes. Item number 1, 3rd District.
Please hold on the order of business.
So ordered.
Item number 2,
Hold on the order of business, and that will be the order.
and we have nothing under new business this evening, Mr. Presiding Officer.
Very well. Before we adjourn tonight, I'd be remiss if I didn't take a few moments of everyone's time to thank you, Jen, for your selfless service over many, many years to this county. For those of you that don't know, this is Jen's last meeting as county clerk. She's moving upstairs to the county counselor's office. You can maybe have some imagination of what the upheaval was like the last 4 months or so. The removal of a corrupt executive, the replacement of that person with the chairman of this council, the elevation of another member to his administration. Without Jen, what appears seamless to you folks every week doesn't happen. So I can't thank you enough personally. I'm sure I speak for the other members of this body as well for your selfless service to St. Louis County. You will be missed. Thank you.
Mr. Presiding Officer, I would be remiss if I didn't say that, I've been able to, I think, succeed in this job only because I've had a wonderful staff. My chief deputy clerk, the deputy clerks that nobody ever sees, but, really put everything together to make these meetings work. My staff on the council side, and then, of course, working with the administrative assistants. So it's been a pleasure to work with everyone, including all the council members.
Thank you.
A couple things. First of all, I am hosting a town hall on Thursday evening at 6:30 at the Heights. That's August 8th. I'm pleased that County Executive Sam Page will be joining me. Please join us and hear what we're working on together. And most importantly, it's also an opportunity for folks to let us know what's on their minds about how we can continue to forge ahead in county government and build trust. I also want to share something I wrote briefly before we adjourn. It's a somber week for me for a lot of reasons. As the county executive shared already, as many of you know, this week marks 5 years since what has become known to many of us simply as Ferguson. My heart feels heavy as I think about how Michael Brown's life was gone too soon, how the life of the police officer who shot him was forever changed, and how what happened on August 9th, 2014 not only catalyzed a movement here in St. Louis, but one that transcends our region's boundaries. There were no winners on that day. I wish I could sit here tonight and say with confidence that what happened that day will never happen again, but the truth is we still have a long way to go toward reconciling our region's long history of systemic racism and then charting the way forward. I don't think any of us has all the answers, but collectively I know we do. I know that much of the work that needs to happen is about policy change, and tonight I affirm my commitment to continuing to uphold the recommendations of the Ferguson Commission and taking a hard look at the many changes we are accountable to right here in county government. I call on my colleagues here on the dais and other leaders in every nook and cranny of county government to do the same. And I hope you'll join me on Friday to pause to reflect on this moment and honor the people in our region who are fighting for civil rights, especially the young people. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.